Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the question as to whether or not Valorant can go on to become the big esport that a lot of people purport that it is going to be. This comes at a time when there have been lots of kind of discussions among Counter-Strike pros about how Valve don't do enough for the game and how they think Valorant's going to completely blow our game out the water and kill it. It also comes at a time when we're starting to see more and more tournaments coming for Valorant. So we're starting to get an idea about the baseline numbers. We're also seeing a number of big esports organizations pick up Valorant rosters, even though there's not really a league for them to compete in at the moment or anything for them to do. So I'm going to bring you up to speed. I know maybe not all of my audience is following Valorant. A lot of you are Counter-Strike fans and enthusiasts. That's fine. But I'm going to basically give you everything you need to know about what's been happening in 2020. And then we'll sort of have a look and see what the future might hold, because there has been an exciting announcement by Riot Games if you're a fan of Valorant. Let's just take you back to the summer. This was when Riot Games unveiled something called the Ignition Series. Now, the Ignition Series was basically a bunch of kind of invitationals that were all wrapped up together. It was like a global event, and you can see G2 were involved there. They had been running a series of what they called the G2 EU Brawls. This was kind of Riot Games reaching out, as we expected them to do so, to partners, to people that had sort of already picked up teams, to people they know from League of Legends. Obviously, they know who G2 Esports are. Obviously, they know who Ocelot is. He's kind of very established and esteemed alumni of the League of Legends system. But what's interesting about it was, and I didn't see a lot of fanfare about it at the time, there were 20 partners involved with this, and it generated $1 million in prize money. Now, if you know anything about esports, you know that it can take a long time in a game's life cycle to get to the point of hitting that $1 million watermark. But equally, sometimes it never comes at all. You know, sometimes that's just a distant dream and you never get there. So the fact that for something like this, which is essentially a series of invitationals, is able to generate that kind of money, it shows the kind of economics that are already coming into Valorant from these established organizations and with Riot's support and interest. Now, I'll also add in August, there was a FaZe Valorant Invitational, and this was, again, this is how they've all been run. The organizations have essentially been creating their own invitational events, using influencers to promote those events, and getting as many eyeballs as possible on the game. But according to ESPN here, this is an article by Tyler Ertzberger. You might know him as the esports writer if you follow League of Legends. This one actually peaked at 180,000 viewers for the final between TSM and Sentinels. Now, you need to think about that number and how big that actually is this early in a game's life cycle. It's a little bit skewed. TSM are a huge brand in their own right. I have a feeling a lot of their League of Legends supporters are happy to follow their Valorant team as well. But there's no getting away from it. Think about Overwatch League. I just did a video about it recently when I did a live stream. And I don't want to bash on Overwatch League again, because it's like shooting fish in a barrel at this point. But think about what their average viewership has been since they moved to YouTube. 41,000. This is for an established franchise league. And even when you take the most watched game, the highest peak, so of like the third stage of the season, however they're doing it now amid the COVID nonsense, it was something like 120,000. And people are paying 20 million, 30 million to get involved in all of this. And unfortunately, you can already see the Valorant potential is being unlocked, and more people are starting to show an interest in that. I'll also add, just to show no bias here, that in our online leagues that are playing out at the moment, again, amid this COVID crisis and people not being able to do LANs, and maybe people are getting a little bit fatigued, our Counter-Strike matches aren't necessarily hitting 180,000 when we've got two top teams playing. In fact, some aren't at all. Now, some have gone way past that, sure, but some don't get close. And it's incredible to think that Valorant are already kind of getting these kind of numbers. These are very impressive, and not insignificant at all. lots of caveats. Obviously, big org, as I said. Obviously, COVID, we're all indoors. Esports viewership is up across the board. These numbers could be artificial. Obviously, as well, there's a lot of curiosity early on in a game's life cycle. Overwatch hit something like 430,000 on its launch day, but we all know where it is now. So I'll add that if you've been following this, a lot of these organizations that are picking up players at the moment, they do seem to be mostly in NA, and there's a lot of people in EU that are still very skeptical about Valorant and where it's going to go and whether or not they want to spend big on it. Now, it looks like G2 and Carlos are in on the idea, but equally, I think Carlos has said publicly that a lot of the salaries are over-exaggerated in NA. They're making it seem like people are making more than they are to kind of make it appear more lucrative. I don't know. I'm hearing crazy numbers in the salaries, and in fact, to put it into a context I'm sure the Counter-Strike fans watching this video can understand, an average Counter-Strike player, so just a middle-tier pro, they maybe can't get a salary at all in CS, or they get a very small one. But if they are willing to jump across to Valorant and could transfer those skills to being good at that game, then the NA orgs that wouldn't necessarily pay them much to play Counter-Strike are willing to pay them more to play Valorant. That seems to be what's coming back to me from the players I'm talking to. Now, that's an NA phenomenon, but it is happening. You've all seen it. You all know which players I'm talking about. A lot of those mid-tier pros have announced retirements from Counter-Strike and are going all in on Valorant right now. But meanwhile, in Europe, we're not really there yet. We're not really necessarily convinced. Now, Fnatic, again, established League of Legends team, very well known. And you can see this is the team director of Fnatic, Colin Kojo Johnson, said in this interview here over on GG Recon, I've personally probably spoken to 60, 70 players within Europe. We've definitely done our due diligence. To some people, that might seem like we're kind of sitting on our hands, but conversations have for sure been happening. There's a lot of decisions to be made right now, especially around the COVID period, that has made things a lot more sensitive and a lot more approvals need to go through. I would say in terms of getting things over the line, just because I think everyone's been hurt by it with COVID. NA in general are always spending more on salaries. I mean, the LCS salaries are higher than the LEC salaries, but LEC seems to perform better at Worlds and those international events. For us, it's just been a case of feeling things out at the moment, and that's what I've been doing. So that was in response to a lot of Fnatic fans going, why don't you have a Valorant team yet? Why don't you have a Valorant team yet? But there's a lot of European orgs that are like, we're going to wait and see. And I think probably how it'll pan out in a not dissimilar way to what happened with League of Legends, where the sort of the traditional thinking in Europe was, Dota, maybe, let's see. You know, we had big names that were all in on the Dota train. Everyone sort of sat back and waited to see where League of Legends were. And while that happened, you had a lot of bedroom organizations at that time turn into these, monsters, the CLGs, the TSMs. They pretty much, rode to success on understanding very early influencer culture and how to utilize League of Legends and being good at League of Legends as it established itself as a game. I think we'll probably see history repeat itself a little bit when it comes to Valorant. I think it's going to take off in North America first, and then Europe are going to be playing catch-up. Whether that'll translate the same way in excellence and in terms of how they play, who knows? But anyway, this was the big announcement. Riot Games came out, and they revealed the next stage in their esports vision, let's say, and they did it at the end of September. They've announced something called First Strike, and they released a trailer video for it, which I'm going to show you now.
Hey everyone, we're here today to share some exciting news on a topic I know many of you are extremely passionate about, and that's esports. It is crazy to think that not even a year ago, most of you didn't know Valorant even existed. And for us, we were eagerly preparing for our grand reveal at the League of Legends 10-year anniversary event. Even then, when we were hyper-focused on our game's launch, our hearts, our minds, our imaginations were looking forward to the future, for all the very best ways we could support the community in the long term. Valorant was designed from the ground up to be a deeply competitive game. One that with the right care and attention, we believe could grow into a leading global esport. Here at Riot, esports is baked into our DNA. Over the past 10 years, we've grown League of Legends into an esport whose biggest moments could stand shoulder to shoulder with their counterparts in traditional sports. So, when it came time to search for the very best team to grow the Valorant esport, we didn't have to look very far. I'm here today to introduce you to two folks who will be leading the esports efforts for Valorant, Waylon Roselle and John Needham.
Hello, I'm John Needham, the Global Head of Esports at Riot Games.
And I'm Waylon Roselle, the Senior Director of Esports at Riot Games. Today, we want to share our next steps to build Valorant into the world's leading FPS esport.
2020 was a breakthrough year for Valorant. Despite the pandemic, the Valorant launch exceeded our wildest expectations, pushing us to dream bigger and accelerate all our plans.
The unprecedented launch momentum pushed us to unlock competition around the globe as quickly as possible. We knew that the only way to create a foundation that was authentic to Valorant and could support the esport for years to come was through a collaborative effort that included fans, players, teams, and organizers from all over the world. Our community guidelines unlocked hundreds of competitions during the summer. Whether it was grassroots events, local leagues, or the more than 20 Ignition series, we couldn't have been more thrilled with the response and interest all of you have given Valorant esports thus far.
We also saw some of the most talented players in the world converge on the game.
I want to say their current win rate on this is somewhere in the 40s currently. Some kills are starting to come through though. Zombs gets 2, Zombs gets 3, Zombs with 4, Zombs with the ace!
Sparking incredible rivalries and nail-biter overtimes, fueling Valorant to become today's fastest growing esport. As a result, today we're announcing our next step for Valorant esports and the first tournament organized by Riot Games, First Strike.
This extended event will provide the first opportunity for players in North America, Europe, Asia, Latin America, and other places around the world to earn the title of Valorant Champion in their region. Starting in October, merit-based qualifiers all over the world will begin narrowing down a field of competitors. These events, leading up to the First Strike Finals in December, will allow both established teams and amateur squads to showcase their greatness. So start building your teams and be on the lookout for additional details on the qualification process.
As we build towards a future where Valorant esports rivals the scale of League of Legends, you'll continue to see us increase support across all fronts. We're going to invest into expanding our broadcast capabilities to build a best-in-class viewing experience. We're pushing to develop new and innovative methods for you to engage with our sport. And we'll continue to grow our internal teams while partnering with leading experts to ensure Valorant becomes the genre-defining esport of its generation.
Our aspiration is to build Valorant into the next great esport, one that is worthy of your lifelong attention and interest. We spent the summer watching and listening to feedback, and we're hard at work driving improvements to the esports experience. For example, ahead of First Strike, we're partnering with Anna and the Valorant development team to ship much-needed observer tool updates, as well as a round reset feature that will help competitive integrity. First Strike is just the beginning. You can expect many more Valorant tournaments from Riot Games as we build this esport with you. Thank you for all of your support, and to all of our current and aspiring pro players, good luck.
So there you have it. I mean, and there's a lot to unpack in that, but I'll sort of give you the cliff notes about what I think's important. I think, first of all, the way that they've said that it's going to be an open qualifier event, this is important in and of itself because it's going to be open across multiple regions, and it's not just going to be we're inviting our friends and partners from League of Legends. We're not just going to be inviting the big names, the influencers, and making a mockery of competitive integrity. We're going to have a qualifier, and that means anybody at any skill level that can get a team together and be good enough to win the qualifier can play with the big boys and win some serious money. And as a veteran of esports, that is super important, especially at the start of an esports development cycle, because that is how you break away from the old guard that get in the game early because they've got the time, the money, the reputation, the clout from other games, and you actually see who the breakout talent's going to be. The changing of the guard typically happens once you start having open qualifiers, because a team will come from nowhere, and I'll guarantee it'll happen here for this. A team will come from nowhere, go way beyond expectations, maybe even, do something truly shocking, like make the final, make a semi-final, get some big scalps, beat a favorite team, whatever it is. And then that's going to be the catalyst for an org to go and pick them up. And now suddenly these people you've never heard of are salaried and representing a big organization. And that's the natural process of things within an esport. So it's good to see Riot understanding that, because Riot typically, they don't really care about esports ecosystems, no matter what they say. In fact, the way they were in League of Legends, it was, you can build the ecosystem, but then we're just going to come and snatch it all up. And I have no doubt they'll do the same here, but at least they seem to be learning a few lessons along the way. And that's a good thing for fans of the game and a good thing for esports opportunities in general. I'll also add as well, the fact that they understand that it is imperative that they change their spectator tools and the spectator HUD, because they are woefully inadequate for the type of esport you want to be. You want to be a high-octane, interactive, easy to understand, Counter-Strike-esque esport that has instant appeal and will hold someone's attention. You don't want to fall into the Overwatch trap of, they already had an unbelievably complicated game to watch, but they launched with just woefully inadequate tools for the job, and they played catch up. And even by the point they got good tools in place and understood the importance of observers and producers for their events, by that point people were already losing interest. It was too complicated. They didn't win over the neutral. So that's a vitally important thing as well. And just overall, it's important, I think, that Riot do get involved. I don't want them to be how they are with the League and really overbearing. I don't think that'll ever change about them. They're a very hands-on company in that regard. But it's essential that they do get involved, and this is a good stage to be doing it at. So all of that said, because I'll wrap it up because we're hitting that. It's getting close to 20 minutes, so people start turning off. What do I make of this? Well, they said in that promotional video there that, yeah, this is the fastest growing esport. It'd be hard to disagree based on all the numbers I've seen, based on what's happening, and based on the kind of volume of interest in North America particularly. But there are some stumbling blocks. There are some hurdles ahead. It really needs to take in these other regions. Europe is crucial. Europe is absolutely crucial to the market, because while NA has a bigger marketing pool and it makes more money, and it's very faddish, it doesn't build things that last. People come and people go, and everybody understands that. Whereas if you win over the European audience, you get games like 10, 20 years, fans will stick around and engage with the game. They tend to have a bit more longevity than North American fans, in my experience. And I think when you get that blend going, plus the rivalry between the two regions that have all this rich history across esports, because we can only play each other at LAN still. We haven't got the technology to play each other online regularly. It's super important that you leverage that going into events for narrative purposes and for interest purposes. After all, 2 loyal fan bases are certainly better than 1. So I'm hoping, because I come one, come all. I want as many esports to be successful as possible in the esports space. But this is a very exciting stage in Valorant's development, and I guess by 2021, very early doors, we're going to find out whether or not it's actually some sort of North American fad that people are overpaying for, or a legitimate esport in its own right. Anyway, those are my thoughts, as always. It's great to have you here. Leave a comment for the algorithm. Tell me what you think Valorant's going to do. Follow me in all of this crazy crap coming up on the screens right now, even though I know I don't post on half of it because I'm just terrible like that. Terrible at my job. Terrible being an influencer. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.